Scores of high school and college students protested in Valencia on Saturday in what organizers say was the largest anti-war rally in the Santa Clarita Valley since the Iraq War began in 2003. At one point during the protest, which took place at the corner of Valencia and McBean, organizers say at least 100 students protested on all four corners of the intersection, carrying placards, signs, and flags several across the street during the protest to make it more visible to passing motorists. Organizer Nick Bernstein, 19, a Hart-High grad and UC Santa Cruz student, said he organized the protest to bring attention to the war in Iraq to residents of the Santa Clarita Valley and to show support for his friend, a Marine from the SCV serving in Iraq. Bernstein said he was surprised by the number of students who showed up to protests and by the reaction he got from SCV motorists in the heart of Santa Clarita. Bernstein said he's been to protests in the SCV for years, and this was the largest one he's organized or attended.
And definitely more honks than ever before. It's completely different from 3 years ago.
Well, I heard somebody yell a profanity at you just a few minutes ago. Have you had some negative reaction to?
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of people yelling, read the Bible, terrorists, we got, terrorist lover. Someone read my sign and said that they're outraged that I'm a coward. But, I don't know, a lot of thumbs down, shakes and heads, but it's alright.
Okay.
It comes with the territory. More honks though, I can't hear them over the honks.
Okay.
I asked Bernstein why he thought Santa Clarita needed to be reminded of the Iraq War. He didn't mince words.
So you think communities like Santa Clarita may not be aware of really what's going on over there? Or?
Not by how we've been voting and who we've been electing to office. I feel that we're not aware. Not enough.
Have you been politically active for
I try to do
or?
my part as best I can. I come out to, this is the third year out here doing this rally. This is the biggest one we've had though.
Kendall DeBellis, a Hart-High grad and COC student, said she follows news about the war in Iraq closely. I asked for her thoughts on what would happen if the U.S. pulled its forces out of Iraq.
And what do you think would happen if we were to suddenly pull out? There's people who say that it would get worse.
That is true, but I've actually printed out a list over there of all the names of all the soldiers that we've already lost. And then that's just our soldiers, and the civilian death count over in Iraq is so huge that I think that that's a chance that we could take, because we're losing people over there anyway. People are dying, even with us over there. We're in there and nothing's changing and people are dying, so we might as well risk it and take that chance and pull it out.
According to media reports, 3,791 U.S. soldiers, including several from the Santa Clarita Valley, have been killed in Iraq. 49 U.S. soldiers or Marines have been killed so far in September. Statistics vary on the number of Iraqi civilians who have been killed during the 4.5-year-old conflict. But in October 2006, President Bush said over 30,000 Iraqi civilians have been killed. Other studies suggest the number may be in the hundreds of thousands. We can't really do anything directly to stop the war in Iraq, DeBellis told me, but she hoped the protests would lead to some change in people's attitudes about the war. Local Democrats were energized by this number of students who showed up. Joyce Evans, a Democratic activist and a veteran of protests both large and small, said she had never seen anything like it in Santa Clarita.
Yes, Joyce, what do you think of this one in comparison to others in the years past since the Iraq War has dragged on over 4 years?
We are getting an amazing amount of community support. We've had people that have actually driven by and then parked their cars and joined us. But the most amazing thing is this was completely organized by young students from the local high schools and colleges. And not one of the demonstrations that I've been to in the last 4 years was organized by young people. So those of us who have been doing it a long time are really thrilled to see the kids step up to the plate.
The protest was timed to coincide with much larger protests in Washington, D.C. and other American cities, and capped a week that saw intense national debate about the war in Iraq and the status of U.S. General David Petraeus' so-called surge, which is aimed at quelling sectarian violence. During congressional testimony last week, Petraeus said the surge was working and recommended that the U.S. pull out some 21,000 troops in March, reducing the forces in Iraq to pre-surge levels. But in a Pew Research poll released just yesterday, 67% of respondents said the Petraeus report did not change their views about the war in Iraq, and a majority of Americans, 54%, still want U.S. troops brought home. For the students protesting on Saturday in Santa Clarita, the matter is much simpler than the complicated charts and graphs Petraeus used in his report before Congress. People are dying, DeBella said. Nothing is changing.